everybody. Oh, God. God, you know, the sun just is completely unpredictable. Demon Daystar bullshit. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. It is Perpetual Motion Day, the day where we do not stop moving. Woo! Oh, my God. Let me actually open up to my class plan. That'll be useful. Hi. I know it's not the beginning of the week. It's Tuesday. We've had a day of the week, but I hope that your week is starting off well. I don't know. It's been kind of all over the place. I've been having one of those days where I'm acutely aware of all of the people in my life who are being screwed over by people in authority at their work. And it is insanely frustrating to me, you know, to be like, okay, there's so many people out there and they're so smart and talented, and all they need to really succeed is actual commitment from the place that employs them, and, you know, a willingness to really build them up professionally. And, you know, it's really frustrating to see that not happen. I hope that these dropped frames are not actually going to continue. Oh my God. I don't know if anyone's in the chat, but if you are still seeing issues, I started trying to upload my first video to my YouTube channel last night. And I set it going, and I was like, cool, you know, I'll set it up and it'll be done by the time I wake up in the morning. And it was most assuredly not done. It was at like 30%. And then I left the house for 9 hours and came back, and it was at maybe 40%. So I just canceled it and quit out of Google Chrome, and had hoped that that would fix what was going on, although apparently it might not have. Ooh, currently looks fine. Okay, then Streamlabs is probably just going nuts. But just to be on the safe side, I've closed everything else that uses an internet connection. So here we go. Hopefully that will be fine. I don't know. It's been a weird day, my friends. I mean, it's a weird time. And we all know that. Obviously, I talk about it a lot, but you know, it is frustrating in a time that is so weird and that requires us all to sort of come together and take care of each other in a way that we haven't necessarily had to in a long time societally. It is frustrating to see the ways in which so many people are still not doing that. And it makes me sad, because man, is the world better when we take care of each other and, you know, recognize how our actions impact other people. And yeah, so, you know, bumming hard about that right now. But you know what? We're here. We're going to exercise. We're going to move our bodies for an hour. I'm going to be taking it easy because, as per usual, my shoulder is acting up today. So, God, someday, I will not have chronic pain in my shoulder. That's a lie. I probably always will. But you know what? It's okay, because even when we have chronic pain, many of us can still exercise. Not everybody. Obviously, there are some conditions that make exercise a lot more difficult or impossible. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, for example. But for most of us, hopefully, we can exercise. Yeah. Speaking of, let's do our pre-class checklist. Ooh, almost forgot to bring this buddy down here. Come on, my friend. Alrighty. So, pre-class checklist. We got our water bottles, so we can keep nice and hydrated. Yes, even while we're jumping around the whole time. Oh, water. Water is so good. We got our comfy exercise clothes on. We've got our mats set up. And if you use a fitness wearable, let's turn that on now. High intensity interval training is the way that we go for this. Woo! All right, and we're ready. Yeah, so we're gonna do our warm up as per usual. And remember, when the warm up ends, instead of getting to sit down and chill, you go immediately into cross tracks, and I will demonstrate that transition for you. But just to remind you, I'll remind you several times while we're warming up. But it starts immediately, so do not forget. All right. Oh God, crawl awkwardly over to your mats, and we're going to start our warm up on our backs. 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee. We're doing hip rocks and bridges. As soon as you hear that timer go, ready? Hey, all right. So we are doing hip rocks and bridges. Remember, this is the warm up. So we are warming up. We are not trying to go 110%. Mostly I'm saying this for myself right now. I don't know if you noticed that first hip rock that I did. I was like, woo, yeah, we're going. And then I had to remind myself that this is the warm up. And we do not need to be going that intensely, that quickly, because we're just booting up right now. You know, it's the end of Tuesday, end of a work day for many of us. You know, and depending on where your brain is, booting up, using warm up as boot up time is useful not only physiologically, but also just psychologically as well, you know. I've talked before about how, all right, switch feet, keep doing what you're doing. I've talked before about how expecting people to come into a class and quote unquote leave their baggage at the door is just ridiculous, because that's not how humans work. We don't just drop whatever emotional and mental load we have just because we've laid down on the mat. You know, and so sometimes when you're having a day, coming to the mat is like, okay, I'm going to use this time to really just kick ass, because that's what I need to do. And that's awesome. Sometimes you come to the mat and you're like, if I am even able to get through this entire class without falling apart, it will be a miracle. We've all had those days, okay? Including me. We're going onto our sides for our Jane Fondas. But the point being that using the warm-up should be time for you to boot your brain as well. To be like, okay, all right, brain, here we are. We may not be feeling great. We may be struggling with a lot of stuff happening in our lives right now. You know, we may be feeling afraid or vulnerable or angry or let down, you know, or a combination of all of these things. So let's just take this time while we're warming up, while we're starting to move, to just see what we can do here on the mat when we don't have to. It's not that we've left all that stuff behind. All right, top foot on the floor in front of that bottom knee, lifting the bottom leg. It's not that we're leaving that stuff behind, but let's see what we can do. If we can do nothing else, let's see what we can do here on this mat. And, you know, that can be a useful transition for our brains. You know, I've had so many times where I've gone into class feeling like there's no way that I can get through it. And sometimes that's just the feeling I come out of class with as well. You know, some days it truly is a miracle that you're able to finish class. But on some days when I come in that space and with that struggle, by the end of the warm-up, you know, once my heart's going a little more, I'm sweating a little more, all right, top foot behind that bottom knee, still lifting that bottom leg. I've been moving my body, getting all those energy systems going, so there's more energy in my body. Sometimes that does start to shift me out of the place of mental heaviness into a place where I can focus a little bit more on this. And that's really awesome. So again, nothing's a magic bullet. Nothing is going to work 100% of the time. Sometimes you come in, you do the warm-up, and you're just as frustrated and angry at the end of the warm-up as you were at the beginning. And you know what? If that is the case, then we set our success criteria to make it through class. And we pat ourselves on the back when we do that because it's awesome. But when it works, it's also awesome. All right, we are on our second side. Back to Jane. You can tell I've been thinking about all of this a lot. And I mean, you know, it's hard not to right now, and especially when in times of such turmoil, there are so many people in my life, including myself, just going through so many things. And we are all trying to figure out how to live our lives while under these really intense mental loads that many of us have not had to carry before. And, you know, for some of us, for people who have dealt with, you know, anxiety disorders and depression disorders, some of that load can feel familiar. All right, top foot in front of the bottom knee, lifting that bottom leg, and can be a little easier to deal with than if this is sort of a new experience for you. But it doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it easier to get through. You know, so just I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to best support myself and how to best support all of the people in my life. And well, exercise is one of the ways I can do that, right? If I can show up here on my regularly scheduled stream days and lead an awesome class for people to take, move their bodies a little bit, maybe forget about what they're worrying about, or maybe give them the energy to face it when they get out of class, or, you know, just give them the satisfaction of knowing that they made it through, even though they're going through stuff. You know, that is something that's important, and that's something that I'm very excited to be able to help with and to give to people. So, so here we are, making our way through the warm-up. So this is our last leg exercise before we move into warming up our backs and our hips. So after this one is done, we'll start our scorpion twists. Yay. I am going to get, now that I'm actually going to start uploading things to the YouTube channel, I am going to get a video up for the warm-up sequence itself, and going over all of the specific exercises in it. All right, scorpion twist time. But I want to make sure that those form and technique videos are, you know, not necessarily super professional, but maybe a little bit better lit, better shot, just so that it is useful as a tool. So it may take me a little longer to get those up, but things are moving. Things are moving. You will see content on the YouTube channel, hopefully no later than the end of tonight. I'm gonna put up all the VODs from last week. I've got those downloaded and edited, which, you know, edited being I chopped off time at the beginning and end so that, you know, you don't have the full 5 to 7 minutes of, hey, we're starting soon. All right, we're standing up, we're holding our imaginary PVC pipe, and we are doing nice big torso rotations. So, yes, we're gonna have some content because perfect is the enemy of good. And it's important for me to remind myself of that as well as all of you. So we're gonna put stuff up. It'll, you know, not be the most professional looking, but neither is the stream right now. And it is still a good tool and a good class. So we're gonna have it. We're gonna have it available. So if you are on the go and can't necessarily make the Twitch stream, or, you know, if you are somebody who likes these classes but doesn't necessarily want a Twitch account, well, then we'll have the YouTube VODs. All right, we're doing our squats, still holding that imaginary PVC pipe above our heads. So make sure this is our first opportunity to check on our squat form, and it's going to be relevant throughout class. So make sure you're checking in, those knees going straight over the feet and not caving in towards each other at any point. So not caving in as you go down, also not caving in as you stand up. So if you can go down like this, but you can't stand up without your knees caving towards each other, narrow your stance a little bit. I want you to be able to maintain that position throughout the entire squat, okay? And then as you get stronger at that, then you can widen the position back out a little bit and see how that goes, all right? All right, imaginary pipes down. Here we are doing our Samson stretches. Oh, yeah, really sinking into those hips, opening them up. If you have been sitting all day at a desk, or if you have been standing all day at a desk, you should really take the time to luxuriate in these hip stretches and openers, okay? Because standing all day without moving is not actually healthier than sitting all day without moving. You want, ideally, if you are somebody who likes the standing desk setup, ideally what you should have is a desk that can do both, so you can have some seated time and have some standing time. All right, coming down to this nice deep squat position. We're bringing our shoulders in towards the midline, one, and then the other. Again, making sure that your knees are staying nice and straight over your feet. Having your hands on your knees is going to help with that, okay? You're basically levering them out. So you don't want a knee trying to push in as you push that shoulder in towards the midline. The shoulders are the only things that are moving. I'm not bouncing up and down out of the squat. I'm not letting my knees go anywhere. I am just twisting my shoulders, all right? So make sure you're checking in on your form. That's the other thing we want to start practicing here in the warm-up. Checking in on our form, all right? Hey, we've reached the cardio portion. So we're doing our jumping jacks. Remember, even though this is the cardio portion of our warm-up, we are still not going for 100%, okay? We're still booting up. These are the last keys that we have to turn, okay? The last buttons we have to press in our activation sequence. So getting that heart rate up a little bit, getting that breath coming a little bit faster, but we're not going for, I don't want you to be panting uncontrollably by the time we finish this warm-up, okay? I still want you to be mostly in control of your breath and your heart rate. And remember that when we finish warm up, we're still going to be moving. So need to make sure that you have that energy. All right, kick throughs. I'm going to be careful with these today because of my shoulder. So remembering all of the form components. So we want our shoulder to be over our wrist, not pushed back too far. We want a nice stable position for it. Same with this standing leg. I want that knee at a 90-degree angle almost, and knee pointing up towards the ceiling, not letting your butt sink down towards the floor, not letting your knee cave in, okay? Because if you do either of those two, then when it comes time to switch to the other side, you put some really unhealthy pressures on your knee, set yourself up for a knee injury, okay? All right. Last but not least, here we are, everybody's favorite burpees. Wave push-up, okay? Keeping those elbows in right by the sides when you do that push-up, all right? Making sure that you're not letting them fan out. We're focusing that work on the triceps and then doing a nice big clap at the top. If you're having any wrist issues, you can do your push-ups from a fist like that, and that helps to keep your wrist straight so you're not putting the same stress on the nerves going through your wrists. All right, so keep that in mind. Hey, all right, up and immediately into those cross tracks. So the most important thing is that we keep moving the whole time. So I've had clients who, instead of cross tracks, just sort of would kick their feet out in front of them like that. I've had people who just do this little side-to-side jump. I'm okay with any of those modifications. The most important thing to me is that you don't stop moving. All right, that is our goal. That's the most important thing, is that whatever form of that you're doing, it's still active motion. You're not standing still. You are moving constantly, okay? Oh yeah. And please don't forget your water, because it's still important. It's even more important since you're moving this whole time. All right, my dears. Hopefully the stream is still looking okay, because I keep getting these stupid dropped frames notifications, so fingers crossed that it's not impacting. But here's the plan for today. I've done a lot of sets over the last couple of weeks where I've been in control. So today I'm passing 80% of the control to you, my fellow students. We're gonna be doing a lot of AMRAP sets. So that's the 5-minute timer. We'll have 3 exercises, and you will get to determine for yourself how frequently you move between the exercises as you cycle through them, okay? So here's our first set of exercises. We're gonna start with our side-to-side planks, okay? So coming up into that front plank position, I want shoulders directly over wrists, butts out of the air. Let your heels just drop to the sides, come up onto one arm, and lift the other arm up into the air. Hold for a second, let the judges see it, and then back through, and going back and forth, and back and forth. Man, oh, my shoulders feeling things, my wrists feeling things. This is where I put my money where my mouth is and take care of myself today. All right, next is going to be kneel to squats. So the goal on this is to keep your head the same distance from the ground, no matter where you are in the exercise. So we start on our knees. I've got my back in a flat back, core engaged. I'm letting my butt come out a little bit, and you'll see why. So this is my distance. I'm going to push forward, bring one foot up to flat, push forward again. Now I'm in this really low squat. Bring that first leg back down to the knee, and second leg. And keep doing that over and over again, switching my starting leg each time, okay? And then our third exercise is front superhero, and we're just gonna hold it. So I've got my legs out behind me, my arms out in front of me, lifting. I've lifted my legs off the ground, I've lifted my chest and arms off the ground, and I'm just holding. If you wanna add a little bit of movement, you can bend the elbows and extend the arms back, bend at the elbows, push the arms forward. All right, so if you want that little bit of movement, that's okay, but everything else is going to be held. All right, so those are your exercises: side to side planks, kneel to squats, and front superhero. I had to think about it for a second. So we're going to get that timer going. As soon as you hear the horn, drop out of those cross jacks, start doing those side to side planks. All right, remember that for perpetual motion, we're going straight from one thing into the next. So we're not, getting ourselves set in that plank position and then waiting. We are moving right away, okay? Oh, all right. I'm gonna do my side plank for my right arm off of a fist today, just to keep that wrist nice and safe. Honestly, what this probably means is that I'm almost due for a rest week of my own. And it's important for me to take my own advice as I ask you to take my advice. So AMRAP sets, we love them because we get a degree of control that we don't usually get. All right? You get to decide, okay, I feel like I've done enough reps of that, or it's not my favorite exercise, so I'm just gonna do, a couple reps of it and then move to the next one. And all of that is fine. The most important thing for you to remember is that you do have to do all of the exercises, okay? It is not an option to say, all right, well, I really love this exercise and I really dislike those other two, so I'm just gonna do this exercise for 5 minutes. Nope, that's not an option, okay? We are here to do all of the exercises, even the ones we dislike. Having that power means that you don't have to do them for long. If you, get up here and you're like, all right, I'm done, then that's fine. That is your option, okay? But you do have to do it for at least a little bit. And honestly, you want to, because discovering that you've gotten better at exercises that you dislike is one of the most satisfying feelings there is. To be like, wow, I've been hating on this exercise for a while and feeling like I could never really do it effectively, but it feels like I can do it a lot better than I thought I could. Hey, that was our halfway through timer. It doesn't mean change anything about what you're doing. It just means that 2.5 out of these 5 minutes are done, and you can see the end is in sight. Hooray, hooray. So, but yeah, just keep that in mind. We still want to be doing all of the exercises. They all bring something to the table. I set up the structure deliberately, and it is important that you do all of them, but being in control means that you do not have to do a ton of them. So, how's everybody doing? Man, this is only our first AMRAP interval, my friends. We have at least a couple more and then some fun at the very end of class. So I hope that you're looking forward to that. People who have taken this class for a while can probably guess, or at least have a pretty good idea of what might be coming at the end of class. But you know what? For those of you who might be new, I like to keep you guessing a little bit. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Here we are in perpetual motion class. What does that mean in terms of our bare minimum of starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercise correctly? Well, it means that you want to use the bare minimum amount of time that it takes to move your body from doing one exercise to doing the next exercise. Okay, so it can be really tempting to try and basically sneak in a rest. Be like, okay, you know, here I am. Technically, I am moving into that position, but just big breath. Like right now, I want you to have stood immediately up and gone into these cross jacks, or gone into these little kicks, or this side to side motion, because that's part of the discipline. We're talking about starting on time. One of the biggest components of starting on time is making sure that you are using the most amount of the timer possible to do the exercise, okay? And it feels like it should be different on an AMRAP set where you are in control of when you switch rather than the timer, but it's not. You still have the goal of moving the whole class, the entire class, and that includes during these AMRAP sets. So you still want to be, when you make the decision that you are going to move to the next exercise, you need to move to the next exercise. Not try and sneak some time in, not take a second to get a sip of water. Though I hope you're sipping water now. You need to move, okay? That's the discipline. That's the bare minimum. If you are doing that and stopping on time and doing the exercise correctly, if you are just doing those three things, you will get an awesome workout. All right, my friends, here comes our next set of exercises. First one is going to be a held bridge. I'm going to give you two options for this. You can set your feet flat on the floor, knees pointing up at the ceiling, and just bridge your hips up like this and hold, okay? So if you want to do this, if this feels comfortable, go for it. If you want a little extra challenge, then feet on the floor, hands on the floor, hey, pushing up into that bridge like we used to when we were kids, and holding that, okay? So one of the two, you get to choose. Then we're going to do chaturanga to downward dog. My usual caveat, I am not a yoga instructor, so this is just sort of my weird version based on not a ton of yoga experience in my life. So we're going to start from that plank position, bring ourselves slowly down as if doing a push-up, leave the hips by the floor, extend those arms up, look at the ceiling, push back into the downward dog, then back to the plank, down, up, push, over, and over. And then our third exercise is going to be side-to-side mat jumps. So we'll actually get up off the ground. We will start, if I start on the left side of my mat, then I'll start on my left foot, letting my right cross behind me. I'm not putting weight on it. Almost all of my weight is still on this left foot. and are going to use the power of this left foot to push and jump to the other side of my mat and just push back and forth. You can let your hand come down and tap the ground. Again, you're not putting weight on it, you're just tapping for balance, okay? So those are our 3 exercises. We've got our held bridge in whichever version you want. We've got chaturanga to downward dog, and we've got side to side mat jumps. So cross jack your way over to the mat. As soon as you hear that timer, let's get going. Hey, all right. So here we are again. And taking the minimum amount of time to switch between exercises takes on a new degree of complexity when you are switching planes, you know, when you're going from standing and moving to on the ground and held. But that is part of the discipline and part of the learning experience, is learning how to move your body through space efficiently, okay? So if I'm here and I'm doing this bridge, and then I need to get into a plank so that I can do chaturanga to downward dog, what's the most efficient way for me to do that? Drop my hips, push up, and I'm going. See, that took me maybe a second, but you have to maintain that spatial awareness, okay? Spatial awareness is huge. It's huge in the gym, and you know, when we are, as usual, it's huge in the gym when we're working out around a lot of people, and you know, there's heavy equipment that can damage us. It's really important for us to be spatially aware. It is also really important for us to be spatially aware here in our living rooms when, okay, maybe I don't have big heavy gym equipment that could hurt me, but I could injure myself knocking into this chair. I could knock over my television or that bookcase, you know? So, and my living room is not in general set up as an exercise space, so there's a lot less negative space around my mat. So especially when you're here and you're like, okay, it's time to do these side to side mat jumps, it's really important for you to understand, all right, when I get over here and I let this other leg cross behind me, is it going to kick into something? No? Cool. Yes? All right, then I need to shift something about how I am performing this jump, okay? These are the kinds of things that you want to train yourself to be able to notice without thinking of it, you know? You want this kind of awareness to be moved into subconscious processing. So I'm not generally setting myself up and going consciously, okay, well the chair's here and the counter's here, here's that lamp, so I can move my foot here but no further, and if I jump over here, I really have to make sure that I don't knock into that box. You don't want to be doing that consciously. That's going to take a lot of time, and you're going to lose out on some of the intensity that you could be getting out of the exercises because you're using so much processing power just to make sure that you're not knocking into things. So building up that discipline of spatial awareness to the point where you don't have to think about it is one of the better skills that I can help you to move towards. So always keep that in mind as you're setting up for these classes, especially if you're setting up for these classes in an area of your home that is not really deliberately set up as an exercise space, all right? Really try and be very aware where you are in space, what's around you, what you might knock into. Oh my God, I have a mosquito bite on my ankle. Ah! There is no hell worse than having a mosquito bite on your ankle. Oh my goodness. Oh, here we are. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing these chaturangas from my fists. I'm going to try to be a little more consistent about giving modifications for things. But if I'm ever demonstrating something and you really need a modification for it, please feel free to jump into the chat and just throw in a question. I'm also going to eventually start doing streams, and possibly, I think I'm going to be starting up a, woo, hey, back to our cross jacks. I'm eventually going to be doing streams where we can just sort of just chatting streams, basically, where we can all get online together and you can ask me questions, form questions, you know, exercises that have been really bugging you, getting a deeper dive into them, or suggest, you know, bringing exercises to me that maybe I've not heard of or not tried out before. You know, and obviously that'll be a really great resource for questions. But if you have a question while I'm describing something, while I'm setting something up, or you're like, how can I do this without, you know, putting pressure on my wrist or putting pressure on my shoulder, etc., etc., throw a question in the chat, and I do try to keep a weather eye on it throughout class, so I will do my best to answer. Yeah. Oh, hydration. Is there anything better? All right, my loves. Next AMRAP. Here are our exercises. We're going to start with turtle jumps. Yeah. Turtle jumps. So, whenever I say turtle, you know that we start rolling onto our backs like this, rolling up onto our feet like this. And if you need assistance, if you're not able to roll up onto your feet without help, maybe you don't have that flexibility in your Achilles, then you can use a hand to push yourself up. And once you're here, jump and down and jump and down and jump. Whee! I love it. It's so fun. Then we're going to do kick throughs again, but with an addition, okay? So you do your standard kick through, but instead of jumping all the way to the other side, jump to the center, do a wave push-up, and then jump to the other side, and then center, wave, jump, okay? So we're just adding a wave push-up in the center between going from side to side, all right? And then your third one is going to be, shrimps. Yeah. So you know when I switch the mat to go in this direction that we're shrimping. So here we are. Our goal is to move our bodies along our mats by first rocking shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips. Ooh, I hit the end of my mat. Go back in the other direction. All right. Whee! All right. So, turtle jumps and kick throughs with the wave push-up in the center, and then shrimps. All righty. Cross-jack your way back to your mats, my friends, because we are about to get started. As soon as you hear that horn, it'll be time. A little harder for me to do turtle jumps with the mat turned this way. Didn't really think that one through. Let's see what I can do for myself. You know I love turtle jumps. I don't want to not be able to do them. It's not quite as joyful when I'm worried about rolling off the mat, but we make it work. And you know, that's half of the beauty of these classes, you know, so many of us have ended up in these situations where the activity that we usually like to do for exercise is not available to us right now, you know? Maybe you usually go to classes at your gym and you don't feel comfortable going to a gym. Maybe you usually take dance classes and, you know, are not able to do those, or aerial, or partner dancing, or, you know, any one of a number of things. And, you know, one of the things that I know I have struggled with a lot in my own fitness journey is feeling like everything is supposed to be perfect, perfectly aligned and set up for my exercise, and that if it isn't, then I no longer feel the impetus to do the exercise. And I try and justify it to myself by saying, well, you know, I don't have any of my normal equipment here, you know, oh, there's not really enough space and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure plenty of that sounds familiar, because we all do that about things, you know. Not everybody does that about the same things, but we've all had that experience. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, exercise is a lot more versatile than we give it credit for. You can do a class like this in your tiny, tiny living room. You do not need to have, you know, $70 a month gym membership in order to do this kind of exercise. But it does require creativity and a willingness to still push yourself to do the thing, even if it is not perfect. Perfect is the enemy of good. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it probably until I'm dead. Perfect is the enemy of good. And you know, one of the reasons that I have to say it a lot is for myself, because it is definitely something I struggle with. I struggle with wanting everything to be super perfect, and if it is not, then not wanting to do the thing. Or, you know, as many former gifted and talented kids can attest, thinking that I'm supposed to be good at everything, and if I'm not immediately good at something when I try it, just going, well, I'm just not gonna, just writing it off and going, I'm not gonna do that thing. Rather than being like, okay, now is the time to put work into it so that I can get good at it. So often we give up on things when they are not immediately easy. You know, we're creatures of habit and routine. Stability is created by habits and routines. Stability is created by being confident in your abilities. And it can be such an overwhelming urge to be like, all right, I'm just going to focus on the things I know I'm good at. If I'm not immediately good at this thing, then I'll never be good at it, and I should just forget about it. But, you know, best case scenario, when we do that, we close ourselves off to amazing opportunities. And worst case scenario, we end up hurting ourselves or other people with our unwillingness to try and to grow and to learn a new skill, even though it's uncomfortable and it's difficult. So, you know, I have to do this for myself, and I encourage you all, as you're standing up and going back into your cross jacks, to do this for yourselves. Make a commitment to not giving up on something just because you are not immediately perfect at it, all right? Make a commitment to trying, and then continuing to try, and then learning and using that information that you learn to continue to work and continue to get better. It will lead to a happier and more vibrant life ultimately, and it will teach you a resilience that you do not get if you give up on things immediately when you're not good at them the first time you try them. So here's to resiliency. All right, my friends. Let's do another AMRAP. So, exercises for this one. We just did turtle jumps. Now we're going to do turtle burpees. So, they're slightly modified from our usual burpee. So we're going to roll up here, up onto our feet, back into that plank. Do that wave. Jump the feet up, jump up in the air, and then do it all again. Okay? Whee! For myself, I will probably stick to turtle jumps just because my wrist is still feeling some things. But for the rest of you, turtle burpees. Huzzah, huzzah. Then we're going to do front plank off the elbows. Okay? So just holding here, butt out of the air, keeping those shoulders directly over the elbows so you have that nice stable position, and just holding here as long as you can. And then our third exercise, goblet lunge. All right, so standing up, and usually if I was doing this with free weights, I would have a big kettlebell. Since I don't, just going to stand here. You know, my feet aren't together, but they're not a particular width apart. I'm going to step forward into a lunge, double bent leg lunge, push back to standing, step forward, and push back to standing. So again, for this, you need to be aware of how far forward you have to step so that the lunge doesn't have you really pushing your knee farther than your feet, farther than your toes, okay? So I want to do a nice big step so that this knee is not pushing too far forward. If I step in only this far and then come down, then my knee's pushing really far forward, and that's not healthy for it, okay? All right, so turtle burpees, front plank from the elbows, and then our goblet lunges. So cross jack your way back over. Get ready, get set, my friends. Oh, yeah. All right, so you're turtle burpeeing. Huzzah. As I said, for myself, I'm going to stick with the turtle jumps just so I'm not putting too much pressure on my wrist. Trying to model good behaviors. Model those behaviors. Make sure that I'm paying attention to the signals that my body is sending me. All right? You always want to learn how to listen to what your body is trying to tell you, because it's going to save you heartache down the road to listen now rather than ignore and then end up with an injury, okay? And we tend to do a lot of that, especially when we're younger, feel invincible. And unfortunately, a lot of times when we're younger, we're working with coaches or instructors who pressure us to move through, to push through regardless of how our body is actually feeling. And that just sets up a host of bad habits that it can take us a lifetime to work through, okay? I do conferences through the National Strength and Conditioning Association, which is where I get my personal trainer certification. And the number of presenters who work with high school age and college age kids who are, talking about their approaches, and they're like push through the pain approaches. I remember one presentation where someone was talking about the fact that, they had criteria that they would rate their students on at every practice, and it was a green, yellow, red rating, and there were different criteria that would get you different ratings, and a missed practice was always a negative red rating, no matter what. Even if you were sick, even if a family member died and you were going to the funeral, like there was absolutely no indication of any compassion for the fact that people have lives outside of practice. It was just, if you're not here, you fail. And so what does that do? That sets kids up to be like, well, crap, I can never miss a practice because otherwise I have failed, and that's how we start that mentality. That's how it gets going. We start kids off by teaching them that it is wrong to take a sick day or to listen to your body and say, I think I need rest. I think that I might injure myself if I keep trying to push through. We teach them that that's bad. And so of course they're going to try and push through. And then we hear these stories of, professional athletes, breaking a bone, rolling an ankle, and then playing the rest of their game as if that's an inspirational story. It's not. It's not inspirational. It's frankly horrifying that we have trained people to think that they have to muscle through and injure themselves even worse than they've already been injured, rather than say, okay, I have to step back. I'm out for the rest of today. My body has spoken. So it's something I will talk about a lot. And it's something that I think is really important for us all to work really hard towards. Just learning how to actually listen to our bodies and to value their input so that we are not injuring ourselves unnecessarily. All right, back up, back into the movement, cross jacks, or whatever version you're doing. Okay, my friends, one more AMRAP timer. It's still going to be 5 minutes, but it's only going to be one exercise. I bet you can guess what that exercise is. It is my favorite, toe squats. So, feet hip width apart, keeping our backs straight up and down as we go down, letting our heels come off the ground all the way down to this position, and then pushing back up, and then down and up, keeping control of the movement the whole time so that we're not bouncing. Now, this is perpetual motion, so we're not stopping moving. If you want to do sets and then, so like do 25 and then have a rest, you can do 25 and then move into your cross jacks until you're ready to do your next 25. So that is an option. What is not an option is doing a set and then stopping, sipping water, etc., and then continuing forward. I'm going to set this timer going and read that comment, but this is the end. It's the last thing that we have, so onto your mats, And as soon as you hear that horn, we are going. Oh. Yeah, see? Oh, exactly. Okay, yeah. So, this comment is about a high school cross-country coach who took my philosophy as opposed to the rival team who ran their guys into the ground, and most of them burned out by the time they got to university. And the coach who took a philosophy that actually cared for people's bodies won championships. Because, A, you're teaching kids how to actually listen to their bodies and how to challenge themselves, but how to be safe with it. And B, you're teaching them that it's okay to rest and that it is okay to care for yourself. And C, you're giving them a little more autonomy in the use of their bodies. When you have a setup where you're like, you must come to class no matter what, or you have failed, then you're removing agency from these kids at a time when they need to learn how to use agency effectively. Part of the reason I think that we struggle so much as a society with people being like, no, I must have my freedoms or nothing, and defining freedom as the freedom to be assholes no matter what and to face no consequences, is because we start kids off with this mentality that they do not have any choice, and then once they get to be adults, they're like, now I have the choice, I'm going to choose to be an asshole because I finally can. And it's like, we need to teach kids the twin skills of being able to make their own choices, but also understanding how those choices fit into a broader community context, so that we have people who are able to make choices to take care of themselves and are also able and willing to make choices to take care of others. We have that on such a global scale right now with COVID-19 and with the people out there who are refusing to wear masks and claiming that it, is reducing their freedoms, or, all this bullshit. And it's like, these people have never been taught how to think outside of themselves. And as soon as they gained complete control over themselves and their choices, they were like, any perceived loss of that control is an attack on my freedom. And it's really, really horrifying, honestly, to see it on such a grand scale. So learn how to make choices that are safe for you. Learn how to make choices that are safe and caring for your communities, whether that be for your friends, your partners, your work, or your city, whatever, however you define that. It is really important. And it's a process. It's a process that will continue our entire lives. So again, it ties back to not giving up on something just because you are not immediately good at it, okay? We are not always going to be immediately good at things, Even something like this. I know that I have had many times in my life where I have not lived up to my aspirations in terms of either A, taking care of myself, B, taking care of the people around me, or C, all of the above. But the answer was never, all right, well, fuck it, I'm not gonna try and take care of anyone anymore. The answer is learning from your mistakes and growing and making amends where and when you can, and putting those learned skills into use, you know, so it's not just going, I've learned my lesson, and then repeating the same behaviors over and over again. My friends, we are done. We are done. All right, I think we've earned a little stretch time. What do we want to do? What do we want to do for stretching? I think let's come down to the mat. Let's come down to the mat. Let's start with an oldie but a goodie. Let's stretch out those quads, because we just did a lot of toe squats, and that could be really intense on your quads. So whichever leg is the working leg, I've got it bent, so my heel is to the outside of my hip, and I've got it pulled up as close to my hip as I can. My other leg I've just sort of let fall open with the foot up against this knee. No matter how deep I go into the stretch, this knee, this working knee, should not come off the ground. It should stay on the ground the whole time, okay? So now we're going to move backwards as far as we need to feel that intense stretch on the top of our quad. So if you only have to go back here and you're like, ooh, I feel it, awesome. If you come down here before you feel it, awesome. And if you can come all the way down here, then yeah, awesome. Just remember, again, that knee should be staying on the ground, not lifting up, okay? All right. So we are in that stretch. Oh man, it feels good. And we're gonna take 4 deep breaths, and each time you exhale, I want you to try and sink a little bit deeper into the stretch. So either let your back a little further down towards the ground, or if you're like me and you're already lying on the ground, try and flatten your lower back a little closer towards the ground, okay? So 4 deep breaths, here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right. Now we will carefully bring ourselves back up. Don't move this leg under its own power. I want you to take your hands, lift it up, and unfold it manually, just protecting the knee a little bit. Stretch both legs out in front of you. Shake those knees out like this. And then we're gonna just stretch out the ankles a little bit. So flex your feet and point and flex and point and circle your feet in towards each other, and then other direction. All right, and now we will set ourselves up to do the same thing on the other side. So same position notes, same notes on letting yourself down. Remember, once you get to that point where you're like, ooh, I feel that stretch, it's super intense, don't try to keep going down yet, because if you try to push it too far, your muscle is going to tense up. It's going to really be trying to contract, because it's like, oh my God, this feels wrong. And we don't want our muscles to be trying to contract while we're stretching them. Part of the reason that we try to slowly move into these stretches is to help the muscles extend, do that eccentric motion without their usual responses of trying to contract, which is their natural desire. Muscle fibers naturally want to contract. All right, so here we are. We're going to take those 4 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right, carefully back up. Take your hands to unfold the leg in front of you. Extend both legs out, shake those knees out. Flex your feet and point and flex and point. Circle your ankles in towards each other and other direction. All right, now we're going to do some twists. So let's go back onto our backs. And first, let's just bring these knees into our chests. I've got my arms wrapped around them. I'm holding on to my elbows. I'm just going to rock gently back and forth. Knees pulled into the chest. Nice deep breaths. And then I'm going to extend one leg straight along the floor. I'm going to take this other knee and pull it across my body, still keeping my shoulders flat on the ground. I've got this knee over here, so I've just got a nice twist in the back going. I'm going to accentuate that twist and make it easier for me to keep my shoulders on the ground by looking away from this knee, okay? So looking towards that other hand. And we're just going to take 4 deep breaths here as well. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Bring this knee back up to your chest. Have that other knee join it. Rock back and forth a little bit. And then opposite side. So extend out that other leg. Take the knee across your body. Make sure your shoulders are still flat on the ground. Looking away from that knee towards the other hand. 4 deep breaths here. Ready? That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Back up. Knees up in your chest. Now I want you to take your first 2 fingers, hook them around your big toes. Let's just happy baby it out. Rock back and forth a little bit. Oh, yeah. There we go. Extend your legs all the way out, your arms all the way above your head. I want you to reach as far as you can in both directions, just really stretching as far as you can, and then relax. And then one more time, reaching as far as you can, and relax. All right, I think we are done. Oh, yeah. All right, my friends. Good class. Yeah. Let's make sure we're finishing off our water bottles. Good job, everybody. Wow, what a nice way to kick off not quite the very beginning of our week, but close to it. Always such a pleasure to have you all here. We've got 3 more classes scheduled for the week. So tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time is Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Fridays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, we have Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using found household objects. And then Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Mountain Time are our weekend kickoff classes. So join for any or all of those, whatever floats your boat. Yeah. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Insta at Blanche Case Fitness, Twitter at Blanche C Fitness. I also have a YouTube channel, Blanche Case Fitness, and as of, fingers crossed, tonight, it will start to have content on it. So I'm going to be uploading my VODs there for posterity, so that you can always go back and retake classes if you want to. And there's going to be a lot of additional content as I build it out. So videos for warm-up sequence and stretching sequences, form videos, etc., etc. So head over there, subscribe to that channel if you want to check out that content. If you enjoyed class and feel financially stable enough to make a donation, I do have a Ko-Fi account, Blanche Case Fitness. Donations always appreciated, never required. And if you like this class and want to see more, want to help me keep building out this community, then please consider following this channel. You know, we've done a lot just in the last few months, and I'm excited to see what else we do. So stay tuned, follow the channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's going to be a lot happening. I'm really excited. Yeah, that's it for today. Hopefully I will see you back here maybe tomorrow. Have a great night.